main arguments against the Hedron system is kind of the how should I put this? The difficulty by which it would take for the redeemability of Hedron to matriculate or to manifest. And what I mean by that is the redeemability of Hedron is tied to the liquidation auctions. Like you're able to take your Hedron and you're able to redeem it on the liquidation auction for hex stakes. And that's like the main value proposition of Hedron, independent of its distribution model. But there is at least a purported problem. I don't see it as a problem. I see it more as a threshold that needs to be reached. And that is, in order for an HSI to be put on the liquidation market, a advance needs to be taken. Well, you're presuming if somebody's taking an advance, the amount of money that they're able to get in terms of the dollar value of that Hedron incentivizes them sufficiently to collateralize their hex stake. And so that presupposes the price of Hedron being fairly high, at least higher than it is now, because where it is now, most of the advances that you can get are basically pennies, and it's just not worth taking the advance on. Well, if the price of Hedron isn't where it needs to be for people to take advance, there are no HSIs on the liquidation market. And if there are no HSIs on the liquidation market, you can't redeem your Hedron for those HSIs, which means less Hedron or no Hedron is being burnt, which means the supply isn't sinking, which means a centralized party of people are getting a ton of the supply and none of it's being burned, and the main kind of engine of the system isn't running. This was basically the summarized version of why people were skeptical of the Hedron system. And so you have this situation where it's like you need HSIs on the liquidation market, but to get them, you need the price to pump. Well, to get the price of Hedron to pump, you need things on the liquidation market, which you need the price to pump, which like it's a circular thing, which you need some threshold to hit before it takes off. But once it takes off, everybody agrees like, yeah, the system's great. What ICSA is, it's an engine plugging into the system to ratchet it up to go faster. Right. Because now not only where's it going? Not only can HSIs get on the liquidation market through advances, but they can also now be exchanged for ICSA. So the entire value proposition of ICSA will inject HSIs into that liquidation market, which then gets that whole system ratcheting up. Now we have HSIs on the liquidation market, which allows Hedron to be burned, which pushes the price up, which incentivizes people to take their advances out, which puts more HSIs on the liquidation market. And now that positive feedback can go. Can start moving and continue to inflate itself and pump the price, put more things on the liquidation market, and we're all happy because we're billionaires, right?
Yes, sir.
And so that's what I see like the main purpose of ICSA is. It's the generator being attached to the Hedron system. So instead of having to wait 2 to 5 years for the system to go on its own, waiting for hex to pump and waiting for everything to kind of work out on its own, it's another incentivization model built on top of it to get it running faster. And I think it, and I don't think it was exactly supercharge it. Was it necessary? I would argue that it's not. I think the system would work out on its own over time, but it's definitely very welcomed because now we get to see the fruits of Alex's labor and our interest in the system and our participation in the system a bit more quickly, right? And now it kind of dispels that argument where it's like, well, where are the liquidations going to come from? How are HSIs going to be there? Like we now have a concrete answer, especially once the contract is